Good morning, folks. Duncan at Freezing Eagle. Just wanting to do a quick check-in video. Haven't been doing a lot of videos lately because I realized I've been doing some of the less glamorous work and some of it invisible work. Doing a little grounds cleanup. I got reducing the mess that I have on the outside. Actually got rid of a lot of it the last few days. Getting trash gathered up and bagged up and wood scraps moved to locations where they can be kindling at my other house and doing things like that. And so anyway, I figured I'd catch you up and take a quick tour. I did take a run to Pittsfield the day before yesterday and actually ordered a door for the front, which is going to be really pretty. Took a little work to figure out something that Marilyn and I both like that looked pretty here, but we picked it out and ordered it, so that's on the way. Today I'm going to be putting soffit wood up underneath this overhang. So that's my goal today, is get this done so that when the door comes that can be installed, and then we can trim out and log side the front of this, and then after that we'll be putting real stairs in. I took my redneck set of makeshift stairs that were on the other side, moved it over here just to have a way to get in and out comfortably, and I will walk in here. So what I did do, actually Al came up the other day and we had a very productive time yesterday morning. He called me in the morning, didn't have anything big going on, and I had gone to Pittsfield, and one of the things I wanted to do other than ordering the door was to pick up something for the hearth here because it's getting chilly. It was frosty this morning, around 30, so I've been really wanting to get this wood stove hooked up. So the wood stove is off to one side. As you can see, I had it all piped up so it was ready to go, and then I pulled it away so we could get a hearth in, and I moved a whole pile of wood that was over here in the way of things and got it out of the way. And while I was in Pittsfield, I ended up stopping at a little place called John's Building Supply where they carry all kinds of masonry and stone and tile and all this, and I thought I was going to get some little maybe 6x6 inch tiles and create a little hearth, and the only thing they carried was these big 2x2 foot porcelain tiles. And I'm like, you know what, I had this planned out to be close to this size, a little smaller, but these things come 2x2 feet, and Al brought up a diamond saw, so we were able to cut the corners off and shorten these front two, so we're sticking out a little further than originally planned on the sides, but not much to the front. But the insurance companies want you to have a certain clearance around any kind of wood stove or fireplace, obviously for fire reasons, so it had to be pretty much this big to qualify, because once that stove's in the middle, you got to have something like 18 inches on either side and on the front, and I expanded that out a little bit just to be on the safe side. That's going to be a couple of feet off the wall, so I had to be out into the room a bit, but nevertheless this is going to be really cozy, and I love wood stoves. I love wood heat. It's just cozy and nice in the winter. And one nice thing about wood stoves, they don't need internet or power or anything. The one I have at my other house has given us much needed relief when the furnace kicked down or the power was out. You get a big storm and it gets cold and windy, and next thing you know, you got no power, no heat. So the wood stove is a trusty old friend. So we've enjoyed having one at the other house, and then when we move up here, we'll have one also to enjoy. Of course, we will have the backup generator and all those goodies, and we've been invested in a couple of those little power units that will come on when the power's out. It's kind of like a big car battery basically, but it's much better storage of power with lithium-ion batteries. You can get a lot of power out of a fairly small battery. So the biggest peeve that we would have before when the power went out is you immediately lose your internet at our house and you got no cell service. So losing those things kind of puts you out of contact with the rest of the world. And with this little battery backup unit, I think it's Blue Eddy is the name of it. Then I bought a second one, Jack something, forget the name of it, but anyway, I have that. It's going to come up here eventually and get powered up to back up the internet system when that would otherwise kick out. But setting up the generator and operating it, we don't have one of those automatic on units, so the one I have takes a few minutes to set up. I got it down to about a 5-minute ritual to set it up and power it up and get the power in the house with that, but still it's a lot more work than just switching a cord over to this other little unit. We basically have a power strip that plugs into it that if the power goes out, you immediately plug some other cords into it that power up the essential internet box and TV and other communication systems. So the other thing that we did do, actually my son and I did this the last few days. I had done a lot of the insulating here, but decided to continue, and I got the whole upstairs partially insulated. I took on a weird strategy. I knew I was going to have to wire the whole place, and I don't like tearing up insulation and cutting around it when I'm wiring, so decided to run one layer of R19 in most of it. Now up here on the high end, I don't intend to have to get up in here. I don't want anything I'd have to service at this level, and run lighting in here, but most of it's not going to be all that high, so I ran R19 everywhere so that I could wire it and then put another layer over it in the areas where it's the thickest. And these other, the walls that are not slanted are 2x8 walls, so I put 2 layers of R13 in there, and I'll have good insulation. But anyway, we stuffed all this stuff the last few days, so this will hold enough heat so that I can work in it. And between the wood stove and a couple of electric heaters, the game plan is to work in here over the winter, and God willing, we move in the spring. So it's a bit of an ambitious project, but it's beginning to get smaller and easier. And what's going to happen is, over the winter, there's a bathroom going to go in here, and all this insulation will keep in heat enough so that I can get it wired, and then eventually sheetrock, and a lot of it will go up. Areas will have pine. We ended up getting a lot of this knotty pine, which I really like. So the wood that's out in the overhang there, I've got a ton more of it, so that's going to basically help pretty up some of the rooms. So yeah, this is a quick catch up just to let you know what's going on here. But we've been moving steadily along, and the porch is essentially done except for the outside siding on the front. I did the little sides there. I did have a minor injury that set me back a bit. I was wrestling with 3/4 inch plywood for this outer face of the porch here, and managed to tear a rotator cuff a little bit. Kind of hurt it ripping, and that made me quite miserable for a week or so, and I'm babying it, so it's getting a little better. But I'd gotten down to the point where the only plywood I had left was 3/4 inch. That was nice, but it's also very heavy. So when I was wrestling this upper triangle off a ladder, things started to get squirrely, and my shoulder didn't like it. And yeah, I heard a little noise, a little ripping, and I go, oh. So I finished the day out, but I was quite sore for a few days. So now I'm kind of easing back in. Thankfully the body is forgiving and that it does heal. Otherwise life would be rough. But it didn't do enough damage to require surgery, so that was good to find out. And I will get a little work done. So yeah, you can see we've got a beautiful blue sky, and even a partial view, much better than when we started the project. Took down some random trees and diseased beaches, and that began to open the view up. So someday, when there's time and money, we'll do a little more of that. But for now, I'm going to jump on today's project and try and get this soffit run up in here, and then the side trim done. So we'll end up with a similar look that we do to what we have here, in that there'll be the soffit, there'll be a trim strip, and then the siding will eventually go in there, and it will be pretty. So anyway, yeah, beautiful day. I'll give a quick view of the back here. The view, it is definitely starting to improve. Most of the leaves are down, and I actually am going to enjoy watching the snow swirling around back here if I can, and sit inside and near the wood stove where it's cozy and warm and just watch the snow fly. One of my perverse pleasures in life. I love storms and snow and all that kind of stuff. So this is a place where I'm sure we'll get a fair dose of that. Here's the upper pipe of that stove. So we are getting there. I think we'll actually be ready for winter this time around. Last year got caught short. Didn't have heat, didn't have power. And actually next week, actually going to have people in here putting the leach field in. So I will have a wastewater system, and then this wellhead has been sitting here. It got drilled, God, quite a while ago. back in the spring last year, and main thing was they drilled down and put this pipe in, so 40 feet below the surface is water. I just haven't had a way to pump it into the house. So they're going to dig a hole here and pipe it into the house. And then on the other end of the house, we're going to have a pipe going out that'll carry it off to the wastewater system, leach field up there by that pile of wood. And that will eventually become a little bit of a lawn area there. So we're inching our way along, but I'm happy it's coming, and we will hopefully be in here within the next 6 months or so. Anyway, have a good day. Enjoy. It's a beautiful day, and I'm going to get to work. Talk to you soon.